What's up, crew? TD here, coming at you with this week's episode of our Canvas Cutter vlog. This week, I'm getting to talk about something that I am very passionate about. I don't know if you know this, but I do all the photo and video for Canvas Cutter, and I love visual storytelling of any form, but especially photography. It's my baby. It's what I really started working on in this kind of creative space. And I just love capturing really cool photos. So I'm going to bring you along with me this weekend. I'm on this little road trip down here to central Utah. Just pulled into my camp spot for the night. And tomorrow we're going to be going over 6 tips that I have for you to elevate your photos. These can apply to anybody. It doesn't matter what skill level, even if you're a pro. I think some of these can be a good reminder of just some basic things that you can always utilize in creating really cool images. It doesn't matter what kind of photos you like to take, whether you like taking pictures of landscapes, or if you're trying to document hunts, or if you're even just taking photos in your backyard. It doesn't matter. These can apply to everybody that's using a camera or even your cell phone. So come along with me. I am going to roll out my bedroll right now, as you can see behind me. Also, just really quick plug about the Dominator bedroll is if you're a photographer like me, you travel around on the road a lot and you're often very tired when you're driving and you're always at a lack of sleep, the bedroll is so convenient. I can't overstate that, how convenient and nice it is to have a comfortable night's sleep wherever. I can pull off a dirt road wherever I'm at when I get tired, roll it out, get a couple hours sleep, and keep going the next morning if I need to. So I love my bedroll, and that's super genuine. I really do use it all the time on these trips that I'm going on, both for Canvas Cutter and for just personal passion projects that I have. So I'm going to get that rolled out, get some shut-eye, and I will catch you guys in the morning. See ya. All right, welcome back. It is the next morning. You can see where I got my bedroll behind me. And we're going to start off. The first tip that I'm going to give you is lighting is the most important thing about any photo. All photos is light. So there's 2 times a day that are the best to shoot photos. And that's about an hour after sunrise or about an hour before sunset. Anywhere in that hour after sunrise or before sunset, it's called golden hour. It's when you get the most flattering light. It looks super pretty, and it's pretty easy to take really good photos at that time of day. So right now the sun is about to come up over these mountains that are behind the camera. I've got this big mesa back here behind my bedroll, and hopefully what's going to happen, as long as there's a gap in the clouds, the sun's going to come up and it's going to light the top of this mesa, and it'll look really pretty. The light on it will be really cool, and we're going to use that in the background of the photos that we're about to take of the bedroll. And you might even see a little foreshadowing of some tips that we're going to share later. This is kind of a pro tip, and you can experiment with this, but I like to backlight a lot of my stuff. So unless there's something where you're trying to get the light behind on that mesa, that's the only reason I'm going to shoot front lit at the moment, is just because that light on top of that mesa is going to look really cool. After that, I'll probably switch to the other side. And the reason I like to backlight stuff is it makes this really nice edge light on whatever subject you're shooting, and it pulls that subject out from whatever scene it's in. So that edge light can really help bring your subject out in the photos that you're taking. So we're gonna wait for light to come up. I'm gonna snap some photos and I'm gonna show you those, and then we'll move on to the next tip. Usually when the sun rises, as long as it's clear on the horizon, you'll get like a hard line of sun as it hits the mesa or whatever you're photographing. But this time there was some thin clouds, so it kind of softened it up, and it kind of gradually came down in less of a line and more of like a gradient. So the photos are still gonna look cool, but it just wasn't exactly what I was thinking. But that happens all the time when you're taking photos, is the weather changes, clouds might move in, you just never know what's gonna happen. So got some cool photos there, but now we're gonna move on to tip number 2. This one is utilizing the rule of thirds. Now the rule of thirds is, if you can, I'm going to show it on the screen in this video. I actually use this in our videos fairly often as well. So a lot of these tips can apply to video as well as photo. But right now I'll show you, I'll put a grid on the screen. If you can imagine and see, splitting your frame into 3 sections, both horizontal and vertical. So there's going to be like 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines that are going to split it into thirds, again, both vertically and horizontally. Now, our eyes are naturally drawn to the intersections of those lines. So if you put your subject on an intersection of those lines, or as you can see, like my eyes are kind of on the top third, I'm on this side third, my Suburban is on the other one. So aligning your subjects, if you have multiple or just singular as well, on an intersection of those lines, or even if they're pretty tall or there's a lot of length to them, you can just align it to one of the lines as well. So like with our bedroll, sometimes I'll do that. I'll put it on the bottom third, or I might put the mountains in the background on the top third. So using that can really elevate your images because our eyes are naturally drawn to those points in a frame. So we're going to practice that right now. I'm going to take some photos of the burro and the mule that I have in the back of my car, and I'll show some other photos that I've taken previously as well. Tip number 3 is don't forget the details. Sometimes the most powerful shots can be of small details that tell a bigger story. So get up close, fill the frame, get the texture, the character, the grit of whatever you're shooting, and those images can be some of my favorites. So I'm going to do that with the mule here, and then I'm going to include some other shots that I've taken in the past as well that show really good examples of capturing small details that tell a bigger story. Tip number 4 is to use leading lines. Leading lines can be anything in a frame that direct your eye to whatever subject, or it might not even be to a subject, but they lead your eye through the photo and they like kind of take you on a visual journey. So they can be shadows, they can be roads, they can be clouds. There's a lot of different things. Think of it as like a visual arrow that's guiding your eye through the frame of the photo. So right now I'm put my drone up in the air, taking a shot of this road. That's a great leading line. You can hear my drone out there. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on my mic, but roads are really good leading lines, especially when they're leading towards like a mountain or a mesa. I think I saw it back there. I crossed a wash that looked like it would be a really good leading line towards this mesa that's back over here to my left. So we're gonna try to find that on the drone. Oh yeah, that looks cool. Leading lines can make your image really dynamic and also feel very purposeful, which is always a great thing when it comes to photos. Making it look very intentional can be a real benefit in elevating your images. Just gonna get one of this wash leading towards this mesa. Looks pretty cool. Beautiful. Okay, tip number 5 is to use foreground elements, natural frames, or in this case, I'm going to use a man-made frame, my window frame in my car. I really love shooting through the window frame of my car because I road trip a lot, and I'm always seeing really cool views out my window. And this is such a good way to give an image like that depth and storytelling. And it just makes you feel like you're part of the moment rather than just looking at it on a screen, because it gives it that depth and it feels like you're sitting in the driver's seat seeing that view. At least that's what it's supposed to do, and I think it helps do that. Of course, nothing's going to be the same as actually being there, but this helps to elevate your image and tell that story. So there's this really cool view here. I'm on this dirt road in the middle of nowhere, Utah, and there's these really cool striations on this hill out here. I just think the view is beautiful. Not ideal lighting. Again, it'd be better if we're shooting at golden hour like tip number 1. But sometimes you're just in a cool spot and later in the day and you take a photo anyway because that's what it's all about. So Just gonna lean back here so I get the full frame of my window frame in the frame of the photo. It's a lot of frames, but I think that is gonna be a cool image. And I might even take one vertical too. I like to get both. Sweet. So that's tip number 5. We're gonna move on to tip number 6, which may be the most important tip. I don't know. It's a good one though. Okay, coming back at you with tip number 6. We're here in my car. I drove down from the mountain, went into town, got a little bit of lunch, imported my photos into Lightroom on my laptop, which I have here in front of me. I'm screen recording on the screen so I can share that with you so you can see what I'm seeing. This is Lightroom Classic here. It's what I edit in. There's lots of photo softwares that you can edit in. Doesn't really matter which one you use. They're all pretty much the same at the base level. So it's a tip. It's not a rule. I keep emphasizing that. These are not rules. But tip number 6 is to edit with a light touch. You don't want to over edit. That tends to be, I did that a lot when I first started taking photos because it feels cool, to be able to adjust things and make them look different than they did in real life. But after you take photos for a while, you'll realize that real life is kind of the best look. Now, there are people that love to edit in really cool ways, and that's awesome because photography is art, and these are not rules. Again, you do whatever you want. This is just my taste, and I feel like it's a pretty popular way to look at photos, and it's just kind of classy. It never goes out of style. So basic edits. Now here I've applied a preset to this one that I created, and it basically is making super, super minor adjustments. It bumped the highlights down a little bit because these clouds are pretty bright on the top of this frame. It bumps the blacks up, and that gives it a little bit of a matte look, which I like to use in almost all of Canvas Cutter's imagery. It gives it a consistent look that I really like and I think looks good. So, and then the other thing that it does is it changes some of the hue sliders and the HSL sliders. Now, what this is doing is it's adjusting anything that has the color red in it, any pixel that has the color red in this, it's adjusting that towards orange. So I bumped it up towards orange, and then I changed the green. I bumped that a little bit towards aqua, and then I made some very, very minor adjustments to some other colors here that you can see, but nothing too crazy. And that's pretty much all that I adjust in this image. This is a before, this is an after. So again, very basic editing. The goal with editing is to enhance the image. It's not to change the overall story. So that's what I've done here. It's just very light, easy edits. Nothing too crazy. The reason I picked this photo to edit too is because it kind of covers a lot of the tips that we've gone over today. First one is shot during golden hour, really good light. It's about 30 to 40 minutes after sunrise. And I did mention in that first tip very briefly that I like to backlight things. So if you see here, there's this little bit of an edge. You see that like white edge on the bedroll? That's an edge light, and it's coming from that light hitting the back and kind of shining around it. That makes it pop out a little bit from the background, and I just love how that looks. A lot of the photos I take are backlit. You'll notice that, and a lot of the videos I do as well. I love how that looks. Another thing we're doing here is we are using leading lines. So you see the sun shining past my Suburban. My Suburban's casting a shadow, and that edge of the shadow and the light is making a really nice leading line through the photo. It takes your eye from the bottom corner to the bedroll and then to my Suburban. So it's telling a story. Your eye is following. You're seeing the bedroll, and oh, he got here in his Suburban, and it's pulling you through the image, which is what you want to do. It's a really good way to tell a story. Now, what else we're using here is foreground, a foreground element in this piece of sagebrush or bush or whatever kind of bush that is. But I use that a little bit in the foreground to give it some depth. You see how it's out of focus, so it makes it feel like kind of that you are there, and because that's what it would look like to our eye, that would be slightly out of focus and you're looking past it. So it just gives it some depth, and that makes the photo dynamic, and it comes alive a little bit more than if it was just flat and very 2D. So those are the things that I've done in this image. I think it's a really good one that we'll probably use somewhere. But I got lots of good photos this morning that I'll edit. Some detail shots over here. I'll go through and edit those as well. But overall, that's tip number 6. Edit with a light touch. I think it's an important one. Again, not a rule, just a guideline. All right, those are my 6 simple steps on how you can instantly level up your photos, whether you're out capturing epic landscapes or if you're taking photos of wildlife or just getting moments on the trail. Whatever it is, these can really help you make the most out of every photo that you take. And don't forget that having reliable gear like the Canvas Cutter Dominator bedroll or the Burrow duffel bag can really make a big difference in the way you experience the outdoors while you're out here capturing epic photos. Please like and subscribe. That really helps us out a lot. And leave a comment with your favorite photography trick, or maybe a couple if you got a few. Please share. That would be awesome. And until next time, keep on keeping on. See ya.